have you ever wondered what separates the good Seraphines from the best? What separates the Seraphines that are just okay from the ones that can dish out the damage when they need to, shield their entire team, and come out with those clutch ultimates that will win any team fight, and carry even the worst teammates to the victory screen? Well, today you're going to be learning the difference. This guide will help you take your Seraphine to the next level, and whether you're just starting off with Seraphine or you're a veteran with hundreds of games on the champion, you're going to be learning a lot in this guide. And right now I'll have timestamps on the screen, but I highly recommend watching the entire guide as it will give you a more complete understanding of Seraphine and how to play her properly. In this guide, I'm going to be covering her abilities, combos, build, runes, spells, as well as her game plan and tips and tricks for how to play Seraphine. And that is a very important section, so I highly recommend that you at least watch that section as it's going to be extremely helpful. So with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so now I'm going to be talking about Seraphine's abilities, but before that we have to go into her passive. So her passive, she actually has two phases. So her first passive, Echo, means that every third ability that she casts will cast twice. So for example, if I use two abilities right here, and then I try casting my first skill, it's going to cast twice instead of just once. And the same thing applies with any of your other two skills. And now if I cast my third skill, it's going to cast twice instead of just once. And this passive comes in really handy, especially when we go into her other skills, and they'll combo into each other, and it's just going to be really effective in the correct situations, which I'll be going over while I explain the other abilities. Seraphine's second passive is Harmony, and this will grant notes to nearby allies, so those little floaty things that are revolving around my teammates right now, and they're going to be granted a note every time I use an ability, and then when I auto attack a champion, all those notes are going to be flying to my enemy champion that I auto attack and deal a ton of damage. Also, the notes are going to increase her auto attack range. So if I have a bunch of notes, then I can auto attack from way back here. But if I don't have any notes, then my auto attack range is going to be a little bit shorter. So this is what makes Seraphine so potent in teamfights and allows her to deal that bit of extra damage, especially when she's around her allies. She can stack those notes really fast and deal tons of damage with them if she uses them properly. So now I'm going to be going over Seraphine's first skill, and Seraphine's first skill will deal an AoE magic damage, and it will also deal more damage if your enemy target is at lower HP. And this skill is really important for dishing out damage, especially when your target is lower in health. It's going to deal a bunch of damage and help you finish off those enemies. Alright, so Seraphine's second ability will shield nearby ally champions as well as Seraphine. If Seraphine already is shielded, then she is going to heal instead of shield, and this applies even when you have your own second skill being echoed. So if I use her second skill like that, when it's echoed, then I'm going to heal. It also heals more when you have allies around you. For example, if I heal over here, it's just going to be giving me a bit of health, whereas if I heal with nearby allies near me, it's going to heal for a lot more. It's important to know that this heal is triggered by any shield, and that includes her locket or any other champion shielding her, or even using your barrier as well as using your second skill. So let's say that there's an ally Lux on your team and she shields you, then that's going to allow you to use your second skill and get off that heal without even having to use your second skill. And it's also applied for Mountain Drake, which makes Mountain Drake one of the best dragons to have with Seraphine because of that shield that you get after using your second skill. Alright, so now we're going to be covering Seraphine's third ability, and this will just deal damage in a line, and it won't be stopped by enemy minions or by any enemy targets. So it isn't like Ari Charm or Lux Root in a way that it won't be stopped by any minions, and it can go through enemy minions and enemy champions, which makes it an optimal skill for punishing people for going for CS, as well as just harassing people through minion waves if you're playing support. So the skill will also, instead of slowing, will root if the target is already slowed. So that's how it can combo into your own third skill, and that's what makes Seraphine's Echo really powerful. So if the target's already rooted, then they're going to be stunned. So if I quickly slow this target, and then use my Echo third ability, then it's going to stun them instead of just rooting them. And this is what makes Seraphine so good in team fights, is because if a target is already being slowed, then she's going to be rooting them. If they're already rooted, then she's going to be stunning them. And if they're already stunned, then she's going to increase that stun duration. This skill is absolutely broken in team fights, especially if you have lots of CC on your team and you're going to be able to follow up with this skill. And even if you use the Echo, then you can root the entire enemy team because it goes through any targets and will always go through its max range. Alright, so now we're going to be going over Seraphine's ultimate, and this allows Seraphine to shoot a charm in a pretty long range, and it will charm any targets inside that range. The range of this skill is also extended if you hit an ally target. So right now, that target wouldn't be in range, but since it hits my ally, then it's going to be able to go through that and hit the enemy. And it also works for enemy champions. For example, if I use my ult here, then it's going to still hit that enemy target, and it combos really well into the rest of Seraphine's abilities. Alright, so the first combo that I want to be going over, or combos that I want to be going over, is Seraphine's flash combos. And the things that she can do with her flash is she can flash with her first skill, third skill, and ultimate, but they all work in a little bit different ways. So for her first skill, if you're going to flash after her first skill, you're always going to land the first skill where you landed it before you flashed. So if I'm shooting a first skill here and I want to flash out, my first skill is still going to hit right onto the enemy champion. And this is when you want to deal damage to an enemy champion at a safe range. So if I want to use that skill and then dash away, then that's completely fine, and that's what you want to be doing when you use your first skill flash. However, your third skill flash and your ultimate flash are very different. So your third skill flash can be used to extend the range of your third skill, just like that, and it can also be used to redirect your third skill. So unlike your first skill, it's going to be going to where Seraphine uses her skill after you flash. So you can use this again to extend the range or to redirect and hit your enemy from weird angles. And the same thing applies with her ultimate. If she wants to use her ultimate on an enemy champion, then she can use her ultimate and then flash, and she can also use her ultimate flash to redirect her ultimate. Also, because Seraphine's ultimate has a bit of a buffer time and it has more of a buffer than her third skill, you don't need to flash immediately after her ultimate. You can actually save her ultimate and then use flash right at the end of the animation. So I can wait a little bit and then flash rather than just ult flashing right away, and that will take a little bit more time for the animation to come out. So if you really want to surprise your enemies, then you can use your ult flash like that. But if you're just starting out, I would recommend using it as a range extender and using the flash right away, and it'll still surprise your opponents. So don't be afraid about that. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over Seraphine's basic trade that she wants to be using in lane. So this is when you are level 3 in lane and you want to go for basic trade combo. So how you're going to do it is first you're going to engage by using your second skill and to gap close, as well as put that shield up just in case you take any minion aggro or take any damage from the enemy champion. After that, you're going to be using your echoed third skill to root them. After they're rooted, you can follow up with your first skill and then an auto attack and disengage. And the thing about this combo is it's really safe to use, and it's really great for punishing your enemy if they are going for last hits. So you can quickly go in and deal out so much damage from such a far range, and it's going to be extremely safe to use, especially if you can hit her third skill. Obviously, in higher elo, you're going to hit this from a little bit closer because people know how to dodge her third skill. But if you're in low elo, you can even spam it out from a really far range if your enemy doesn't know how to dodge the combo. Alright, so now we're going to be going over Seraphine's level 5 all-in. But before I go into how to do the combo, I quickly want to let you guys know something about her skills. So when you are looking to combo your opponent, you want to know whether you want to echo your third skill or echo your first skill, because those are going to be your damaging abilities and those are the abilities that you want to echo. The reason why you want to echo your third skill is when the target is higher in HP, whereas her first skill will deal more damage when the target is lower in HP. So for this combo, if your opponents are higher in HP, you're going to be echoing your third skill to root them and then follow up damage with your first skill. If they are lower in HP, you're going to use your first skill to slow them and then finish them off with your first skill. So that's how you want to be using her abilities. So how Seraphine's level 5 all-in combo is going to look like is first you're going to use your second skill to get closer up to the enemies. After that, you're going to be using your ultimate and then using your second skill. And then if you use your second skill echoed, it's going to stun all the enemies. After that, you can use your first skill to deal a bit more damage and then auto attack and then run away. And this is going to be a combo that's going to deal a ton of damage and can win team fights if you land it on multiple enemies. And then again, if you use this skill with your echoed first skill, something like this, then it's going to be dealing more damage to targets that are lower in HP. So you really need to pick and decide which one you want to use and which skill is going to be echoed, because that's going to be really important. Alright, so now we're going to be going over Seraphine's build and situational items, and I'm going to be going over my builds for both mid lane Seraphine and my build for support Seraphine. But before I get into that, I quickly want to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, because we are going to do a live stream and a legendary skin giveaway, like I said. And the legendary skin giveaway, it's going to be conducted on Saturday at 4 p.m. SGT. So be sure to tune in for that. I know I already said it, but just in case you guys didn't remember to set the date, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I'm so stoked to meet some of you guys there and give away a couple of legendary skins. So if you don't want to miss out on that, subscribe. And also, if you just enjoy the content, a like would be much appreciated, as it does help out with the YouTube algorithm and does give me tons of encouragement and encourages me to post new videos. So with that being said, let's get straight into the build. So Seraphine's first item for Seraphine mid is Luden's Echo, and I love this item on Seraphine because not only does it give you ability power and max mana, it will also give you ability haste and also a great passive for both clearing waves and dealing AoE damage that you love to do with Seraphine. For a second item, I like taking Soul Stealer, which gives you ability power, max mana, and ability haste, but it will also give a bunch of cooldown reduction onto your ultimate. With such an impactful ability on cooldown, it's going to help you get tons of kills during the laning phase. So after that, you can take a boot item, and you can also rush this if you want to. I like taking Boots of Lucidity, as that will give you a lot of cooldown reduction to spam your skills more frequently. And then after that, I like taking the Locket because it works so well with Seraphine, and it will allow you to proc her second skill as well as shield your entire team a bunch. But if you don't like taking the Locket, or you're facing an assassin on the enemy team, I would recommend taking the Stasis, as this will allow you to immune any of those impactful ults like Fizz ult or Zed ult, or anyone who has an insane amount of burst damage. Popping that Zanya's Hourglass will mitigate all of that and help you to stay safe. After getting your enchant, you can go for a couple of situational items. And the first one that I want to talk about for Seraphine mid is Death Cap, and Death Cap is a required item for any mid laner that is AP. It's going to be a huge power spike for you, as well as allow you to dish out tons of damage. The next item that you can also go for as a situational item is Leandri's Torment. This will grant you more max HP just in case you feel a little bit too squishy, as well as more ability power. This will allow you also to deal more damage during extended team fights. So the next item that you can consider is Morlanomicon, which is a situational item because you don't want to build this every single game. Morlanomicon is great for reducing enemy healing, and it will also give you some max health and AP. But this item is a situational item. You only want to build this when the enemy team has tons of healing, and then you can reduce that. This means if the enemy team has a healing support, or has someone that has a ton of healing like Dr. Mundo or Fiora, or anyone who's fed like that. So after that, you can also go for Void Staff, and Void Staff is a pretty underrated item in my opinion because it has 40% magic penetration and it gives you a ton of AP. So it can be really effective against team comps that have lots of magic resist or really tanky team comps. For Seraphine's support build, I would recommend going for Harmonic Echo first. This item will allow you to shield allies when you hit your stacks. So every time you use your second skill, you're going to be healing allies as well as yourself. And you can heal up to 3 ally champions with this item. It'll also provide you with ability power and max mana, as well as ability haste, so it's a great first item for Seraphine. After that, I like taking Ardent Sensor, and this item is a bit more situational. However, if you are playing with an attack speed ADC like Jinx or Kai'Sa, or anyone that relies on their attack speed, then you want to be building this item. It's going to be giving you max health as well as ability power, and then whenever you shield your ally champion, you're going to increase their attack speed so that they can spam their auto attacks a lot faster. So for her third item, I would recommend going for, again, Boots of Lucidity. Just like inside the mid build, this item is really good with Seraphine as it'll allow her to deal a lot more damage and allow her to use her skills more frequently. As for her enchant, I would almost always recommend the Locket enchant unless they have a fed assassin on their enemy team, which would result in you taking the stasis just similarly to the mid build. The situational items that I could recommend are the same for the mid build, but the only difference I have is you don't want to be building death cap earlier on unless you're getting really fed. You can go death cap last. Another situational item is Awakened Soul Stealer. It's not a part of her build this time, but it is a situational item. So if you find yourself snowballing really hard, even as Seraphine support, this item is always great to have. I know a lot of people don't like this item because it doesn't provide you with the best stats. However, that cooldown reduction on your ultimate can make it go to really low cooldowns, and you can use it as a really impactful ability just to get solo kills or just to hit a few champions. You don't need to hit everyone on the enemy team to secure kills, and Seraphine is really good. I feel like a really good champion for picks, and she's really underrated in that aspect. So you always want to be considering this item as a situational item. So with that being said, let's get straight into the runes and spells. Alright, so now we're going to be going into Seraphine's runes and spells. So for her Keystone rune, I usually like taking Electrocute or Ari. I recommend Ari with support Seraphine, but if you're playing mid Seraphine, I would recommend Electrocute. So you can take either Electrocute or Ari. Electrocute will provide you with a bit more burst damage, while Ari will provide you with more shielding and a bit more poke. So it's really up to you to what your personal preference is, and those are my recommendations for the respective roles. So for the second rune that you want to be taking, I like taking Gathering Storm, both as mid and support Seraphine. A lot of people underestimate your damage early game, but your poke is absolutely insane. And I used to have a troll build where I would go champion Seraphine mid and I would pick up a ton of solo kills because so many people underestimate your damage as Seraphine. So whether you're playing support or mid, you want to be punishing enemies for going for CS, and Brutal is a rune that excels at that exact thing. For her third rune, I like taking Regeneration, and the reason why I take this rune is because Seraphine does have a mana problem if you are spamming her skills a lot, as well as this rune will heal you if you're low in health, which is always nice to have, especially against lanes against assassins or any champions like that. For her last rune, I would recommend taking Mana Flow Band if you're playing support Seraphine, because you're going to be using your abilities a lot on the wave and also on enemy champions. But for mid Seraphine, I would recommend Sweet Tooth, especially if you're playing against an assassin. You want to be staying healthy, and with Sweet Tooth, it's going to do exactly that and help you to stay healthy during the laning phase. For Seraphine's spells, you can go all the normal spells that you would with the support, which is Heal and Flash if you are playing support Seraphine, or Barrier and Flash. And Barrier Flash with Seraphine is viable because if you activate her barrier and her second skill, not only is it going to give you a ginormous shield, but it's also going to give you your second skill's passive, which will allow you to heal your entire team. But the other combination that you can go for is Ignite and Flash, and this is the combination I love taking in mid lane, especially if you're playing mid Seraphine. You gotta try this out because you have a ton of damage and a lot of people underestimate you. So if you take Ignite Flash, it's definitely going to help you, especially against lanes. If you're playing support Seraphine, lanes that have tons of healing, this means Soraka, this means Sona, or any healing support, you're going to counteract that by taking Ignite, and also if the enemy takes heal as their summoner spell. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks with Seraphine. So my first tip for you is to try to group up with your team as much as you possibly can, especially in the mid to late game. Unless one of the side lanes are pushing and no one's going to stop it, then you can go side lane. But other than that, you want to be sticking with your team as all of your abilities are going to be enhanced when you're around them. Even your passive, which provides more notes, and your third skill, which will also increase the CC that it has off of your ally CC, and of course also your ultimate, which goes farther with each ally that it hits. So you want to be looking to group up with your team and really dish out the damage that you want to be doing during team fights, as well as shielding your team and healing them up for more sustain throughout the entire team fight. My second tip for you is how you want to team fight. Now, when you want to team fight, you want to be looking to backline, as Seraphine is one of the best backliners in the entire game. You don't want to be in the front and trying to hit your skill shots at max range. You want to be a little bit farther back, maybe even to the point as playing safe as an ADC. You want to be really far back. You want to be hitting enemies with your abilities and your shield on your allies. Seraphine is one of the best backliners in the game, in my opinion, and I see a lot of people playing way too aggressively with her. You only want to be in the front when you really know that you can hit those ults, or there's a really amazing opportunity. Other than that, you want to be mostly staying in the back, chilling and hitting your enemies. And also, your third skill is a really good source of peel. So if you hit enemies with the skill, it's going to be really hard for them to dive your backline, and Seraphine is one of the best peelers in the entire game, especially with that third skill, as well as her first skill dealing execution damage. So in team fights, you want to be looking also for a really nice ult when the enemy team is clumped up together, especially when they're about to engage. The enemy team really tends to group up a lot with each other, and that's when you can look to ult and catch them off guard, especially if they are locked in an animation. That's also a really good time to ult, as it'll be much easier to hit your charm and your full combo if that happens. My third tip for you is to look for picks with your flash combos. And I know not a lot of people are comfortable with using their ult flash or using their third skill flash combo. However, these combos are really effective, and since very few people use them, it catches a lot of people off guard, and it's allowing you to redirect those skills to allow you to hit them a lot easier. Especially if your enemy is near a wall or in a choke point, it's going to be much easier to hit these combos, and it's going to lead to a ton of kills, especially if you do it from Fog of War. It's similar to how a Lux first skill works, where you want to be rooting an enemy and then you can full combo them and dish out damage. A lot of people underestimate Seraphine's damage early, so you want to be looking to go for those kind of combos and really bite the bullet and go for it. And I'm sure you're going to be rewarded with tons of kills, especially if you're nearby an ally or the enemy champion is half health or lower than that. My fourth tip for you is not to underestimate Seraphine's early game poke. She actually has an insane amount of poke, to the point where when I was playing Seraphine mid a while ago, I was getting so many solo kills. I know I had a little bit of a troll build with champion as well as Ignite, but still, Seraphine's early game damage is not to be underestimated, and in the laning phase, she has one of the best kits to punish enemies for going for CS. So when your enemy is going for a last hit, she's one of the best champions to punish that, especially if you're playing in the mid lane against a melee champion. You're going to be able to get so much poke off in the early game, especially if they're playing someone like Fizz who doesn't have any skills to pick up CS from range. You're going to be able to punish them so hard with your long range abilities, dishing out so much poke till the point they're going to be so low that you can go for an all-in and secure those solo kills. I've actually gotten so many solo kills with Seraphine because so many people underestimate her damage and aren't looking out for those flash combos. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. Another tip for you is also for team fights, but this one is going to be a little bit different, as you want to be team fighting inside the jungle a lot. Team fighting in the jungle is one of the Seraphine's best places to team fight, and it may sound a little bit weird, but her skill shots are going to be so much easier to hit those line skill shots, especially her ult and her third skill. If you're in the jungle, there's so many different choke points in the jungle that it's going to help you hit those skills a lot easier, and it's going to be able to hit them a lot more consistently. Alright, so for my last tip for you is just to like the video and subscribe if you did enjoy. It does help out with the YouTube algorithm a ton if you do those things, and leave a comment if you have any questions or concerns about Seraphine. I'll be happy to answer you. And also, I am doing a live stream on Saturday this week at 4 p.m. GMT plus 8, which is my time, so you can convert that to whatever your time is. So again, it's at 4 p.m. SGT or GMT plus 8. So I'm going to be live streaming and I'm going to be giving away legendary skins to all of you beautiful viewers and subscribers out there. So I can't wait to see you then. And with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon. Bye!